thank you for staying with us. It's now time for us to take you through our discussion segment with our guest in person of Barrister Jide Ologun. He will be taking us through the statement or the national broadcast being televised 7 a.m. this morning on national TV by our president, Muhammadu Buhari, concerning issues around the policy of the cash policy and other aspect that the president has been really looking into to really make sure that the country is really well governed, you know, as far as he's still in office. And then we'll have the guest who will be taking us through the segment this morning. Mr. Jide, good morning, sir. And thanks for joining us this morning on the program.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes, sir.
I wish all our wonderful listeners a very successful day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Right now, we want to start with the presidential broadcast this morning, 7 a.m., when the president really talked about a couple of things. Looking at the statements, you know, the president, made this morning concerning the 200 naira note, which will be released back into circulation. And it's going to go side by side with the new naira notes of the 500 and then 1,000. Let's start from there first. What's your opinion or what's your perspective about the old note of the 200 naira being thrown back into circulation and not other bills or denominations also being thrown into circulation? Let's even start from there. What's your perspective about that?
Thank you very much. You know, before the address of the president this morning, we have read some reports, some undercurrents of the negotiation between the governors and the president, and the intentions or the expectations of the governors is that all the notes should be allowed to run concurrently. But from the statements of the president this morning, I think why the 200 naira bill will be allowed to run concurrently with its cash new notes is when you consider the fact that when some people want to stock money, the highest denomination gives you the highest value. For example, if you hold 100,000 naira of 1,000 naira bill, you can throw it into your jacket pocket. But if you hold 100,000 of 200 naira bill, you will need, a bag to carry that. So I think the president is mainly out to deal with those who have up money somewhere. And that's why the argument for politics may be sacrosanct here. He also spoke about going after those who are into money laundering, the kidnappers and ransom taking and other reasons. But I think the political one is the major aspect. And that is why, as at yesterday, about 10 states are before the Supreme Court on this matter. It started with 3 states of Kogi, Kaduna State, and one other state. Now some other states are joining, and 2 states are joining the federal government to say we appreciate this policy. And that is where we are now. And another issue is that it is obvious that enough of the new redesigned currencies were not produced for circulation. It's because if we had enough of it, we wouldn't even be talking about 200 naira old notes being reintroduced back to circulation. So I think there is an attempt to reduce the flow of money, and the president was not stingy with words. He said that he's going to deal with a monetized electoral process. So I think his major focus is on politics, really. Because then, no matter how beautiful this policy is, the implementation has thrown the nation into crisis. And again, given what is going on in Edo State now, where the sitting governor is asking that the former governor Shemole be arrested for instigating people to create crisis, then you may also want to agree that because the elections are coming, there is an opportunity also to create crisis, because the crises are happening simultaneously. People are angry, we know. And that's why the president himself, could have done more on communicating. We have a national orientation agency that should have done more. So beautiful policy, but the implementation is like a crash program implementation.
All right.
And that is why we are having the crisis we are having.
All right, that is well taken, Barrister. But before we look at the implications of all of these, don't you think that the president is kind of going against the court order, which is that all denominations, whether the 200 naira old notes, 500 naira old notes, and 1,000 old notes, should all be in circulation pending when the court, have a sitting on this? But the president is now saying that only the old 200 naira should be allowed, in circulation, as against other denominations. What do you think? What do you think, the president is here trying to do, in your own perspective?
The interim order given by the Supreme Court was that the old notes should be acceptable beyond 10th of February, before the parties come back to court on the 15th of February. And when the parties go back to court on the 15th of February, the Supreme Court has adjourned to 22nd. Did not give a new directive. And the implication of that is that the directive given earlier subsists. But that may be to allow the parties, and that's why you now had the meeting of governors and president negotiating what to introduce, what not to introduce, But I can let you know that despite this directive given by the president, the judiciary still has the power to make a final pronouncement after considering the, arguments before the court. You see, and the most important thing is that 22nd of February, that the parties are expected to return to court, just 3 days away from election. So, if the main purpose is to prevent vote buying or monetizing elections, I think that would have been largely achieved. Don't forget that it's not just that Nigerians have been requested to bring back their funds to the bank. You cannot even withdraw, and that is why some of us are not comfortable, because what we read about is that central bank is releasing money, but the commercial banks are closed. They are saying they have not received money. People are starving and everything. So there are deeper things here. Now let me explain the judicial aspect of it. Now there will be argument. The central bank and the federal government will say they are not disobeying the decision of the Supreme Court. The Attorney General may tell us they have not received the certified true copy of the directive. So this is a power game going on. But unfortunately, it has created crisis in the land. But let me say this. When it comes to the change of a nation's currency, it's not new. It's a routine thing. Look at Australia, for instance. Australia decided to change the some of the currencies after the demise of the Queen of England. All right? And since 1966, about 15 billion Australian coins have been minted, mostly featuring the Queen's image. Now there's a need to introduce the image of King Charles III, who just took over. But all these things will not be done in a hurry, because you don't need to get used to a new world order right away. But we are saying we must do it now, without preparing people exhaustively for it, without considering the impact on the economy. And many people do not even know that the Australian currency is being transformed. In the UK also, they are changing the image on their currency from that of Queen Elizabeth to the new king. All right? And it will not take full effect until the middle of 2024. You see, these are things we are talking about. When you have a project, you evaluate the Minister of Finance came out to say that she was not consulted. You see, the Council of State is now being consulted reactively, not proactively. You know, so who are the major stakeholders that should be consulted? And that is why those who are of the argument that this is a political move may be right. If it's economic, you would have looked at it. Do you know how many businesses have gone under within these few weeks? Really? Because when you talk about cashless economy, to what extent, what percentage of the population of Nigeria is cashless? Even within the metropolitan environment. Those of us who are in Lagos, for instance, to even do transfer on your phone is trouble. You see, some banks have had to shut down. Because when you get to these banks, and I'm talking of, I could phone to the bank manager or some of the banks that, please, and they will tell you, barrister, they have not given us money. And Central Bank will say they have given them money. Fine. Somebody was arrested holding money. Then prosecute the person. So there are a lot of hidden things. But by perception, I think this is more or less, even though it has economic intention.
All right, barrister. Sorry to butt in again because we are really pressed for time. And we really need to exhaust some of these very thought-provoking questions we have for you. I want to ask you a question before my colleague, come in again. As a lawyer, what do you think is the consequences for the president going against the court order? The court has said that all of these denominations should be circulated back into the country, but the president is now saying that no, 200 naira only should be allowed. That's the old note, and it should go side by side with the new note. What does the law say, in regards to things of this nature?
The position of the law is respect for the rule of law, which means nobody is above the law. So
exactly.
I have to explain it technically. The order the Supreme Court gave was an interim order, a temporary order, and it was even time-bound. And okay, come back on the 15th of February, we will talk. It's now 22nd of February. All right? And that is why this power game is not over. So let's wait until 22nd of February. I was wondering why the Supreme Court adjourned, but now it's clear to me.
All right.
Remember that in the case of ASU and the government, the National Industrial Court told the party that go and settle yourself. They adjourned and said, go and discuss these things out. Because to start with, the Supreme Court, and that's what we should understand. You cannot take CBN to Supreme Court. You can only institute a matter against CBN in the Federal High Court. And that's why the states did not sue CBN. They went after the president as representing the federation. Even though an agency under the president is the one that is implementing policy. So it's a technical issue. But by and large, it has created hardship.
So since
in how it is implemented.
And
we are going to have to manage that for a long while now.
So since it is an interim order by the Supreme Court, don't you think that the president should be, duty bound to obey that court order pending when they have the next hearing on the matter?
He's duty bound, but he's your president. And during one of the Nigerian Bar Association conferences, the president was there and he insinuated that he may subvert rule of law when it comes to national security interests. So he is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And I think the National Assembly should be watching this and know the kind of laws that we make that will be clear enough on how to organize the nation. So we have the battles on, we have what we call separation of powers between the judiciary, legislative arm, and the executive. So this is one of them. But like I said, the instruction given by Supreme Court was time-bound till 15th of February, now extended to 22nd, and by whispering, not through express declaration, you expect that order should continue. But like I told you, Yasamira may tell you they have not received there are several technicalities. But by and large, it's a power game that is going on. And those who are in the the virtues, they know themselves. It's just that it's the citizens that are suffering for it because the implementation is not the best. If you are going to change the currency of the nation, make enough provision to cushion the effect of the people. Some countries have changed their currency without anybody noticing. That is the truth of the matter. And India in 2016 tried to withdraw the 500 and 1,000 rupees from circulation, giving the excuses we have given here to fight money racketeering and some other financial crimes, and it failed terribly, creating crisis across the land. So those who have been killed now in Edo State and all the banks burnt down, and who is going to be responsible for that? So
okay, Barrister.
In nations, we advise that you are proactive in implementing your campaign. So it's another lesson, another learning curve for the nation. But you ask me, I think the president is resolute.
Okay, Barrister.
Carry through.
Okay, Barrister, we have one question for you before we let you go. Apart from curbing money laundering, do you think what the president has said today is going to be of benefit to Nigerians, considering the struggles we are in because of all this cashless policy?
If at the macro level the economy has been stable, why not? It will be beneficial. But at the macro level, at the larger spectrum, Nigeria is already in crisis. A nation where you have 133 million citizens within the multi-faceted poverty bracket is in crisis. And now, one of the excuses given is to curb ransom taking and banditry. And we have seen video of bandits brandishing these new notes and claiming they have millions of it. So you have to make your policies implementation foolproof. But we have not seen that in this case. It has been badly managed, and that is the truth of the matter. So it appears now that the presidency is shielding the governor of CBN, and it's now the battle of governor of CBN and governors of states and the presidency. And like the elders say, and I beg to appeal to court, that when the elephants fight, we are suffering. And that is exactly what's going on now. And, let me go back to my favorite quotation in the Constitution. Section 14 of Section 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 amended say that the security and the welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. And I doubt if the interest of the people was on the front burner when, packaging this policy. And in the implementation, we have seen that the interest of the people is zero, so to say, because the hardship is obvious everywhere, particularly where we don't even have the infrastructural facility to back up the cashless policy, which we have even introduced as far back as 2012. So there is a need to generally develop the nation so that when we are adopting a system from abroad, we can effectively implement it and use it to add value to the lives of the people. We should be going forward and not as the nation, not backwards.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Jide Ologu, for being on the show this morning and also helping us see reasons, with the broadcast, that the president made this morning, 7 a.m., and giving us clarifications, looking at it from the legal aspect of it. Thank you very much for being on the show today, Dr. Barrister Jide Ologu.
God bless Nigeria.
Thank you so much. All right, we're not done yet with iBrand Daybreak. Of course, we'll be going next to the second segment, of our guest discussion this morning, and that will be immediately after this break. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.